Okay, so just a couple of things I wanted to show you here that I think you guys can utilize when you're doing some decision making on what you guys want to do as far as some of the light changeovers for your vehicles. I've got two different units here that we're just about finished with that kind of utilize some of the same lighting options that we're talking about. This is those two N-Force light heads that would go in the push bumper. This is actually a Weston push bumper, and then it has light channel cutouts for those N-Forces. Basically with what you have on the build already, you would be able to swap those out with no issues. So they fit right in the same holes. Exact same light head, just a different brand, better brand in my opinion. And then right here is that Soundoff signal siren controller. If I can get the camera to focus. This has your takedown functions, your alley light functions, cage. This also has cruise mode, which is another function with Soundoff that you can get that you can't get from Whelen or with the combination that you guys have anyway. And what that essentially does is puts, now this is an interior light bar, but it essentially puts it into cruise mode, which is 25% power. It's just a low cruise mode. So if you're on scene, you want to be identified as law enforcement, but you don't necessarily want to blind everybody, that's what that's used for. Or if you're pulling up on a traffic stop and you don't necessarily need flashing lights. This is what those N-Forces are going to look like from the front. As you can see, they're extremely bright. They wash out the camera, but these are in dual color, and that's something that you're not going to get with your current Whelen option. You're not going to get the white red and the white blue in that light head that you currently have. And essentially the difference that makes is I just hit the takedown button, and both that Soundoff interior bar up there and these N-Forces are going to go to white when you hit your takedown. Because they're both Soundoff products, they work together, so that allows that to work. This is the Soundoff signal N-Force light bar. Sorry, my camera's having issues here. That's Soundoff's version of the light bar that you guys are ordering from Whelen. And just to show you kind of what that looks like when it's on, well, because it's so dark you can't really see it, but it's a very extremely bright light bar with a lot of programming functions, one of which is when you hit your takedown, because the front of that light bar is completely dual color, that entire light bar goes to white. So you can kind of see, you know, the footprint that has when you're pulling up behind someone on a traffic stop. You know, you see some movement inside the vehicle, or you just need to get through that tint. You know, that having that entire light bar go white makes a huge difference versus just a spotlight or something else. You can see that you know, just lights up the entire yard there. So just a quick video I wanted to do because I couldn't really explain over the phone, you know, some of the differences that's going to have. So those are some of the advantages of the Soundoff versions of what you're looking for. And one last thing before I take off here, these are the M powers on either side of the light bar that we were talking, or either side of the license plate that we were talking about, versus putting a bunch of vertexes in your taillights and poking a bunch of holes in your taillights. You would essentially have those two in red, white, and blue, white, or single color on either side of the license plate light there. And then this is the taillight flasher that I was telling you guys about. It's just going to flash this brake light against this reverse light, but you can see how much warning that gives for such a cheap price. It gives you a really big footprint for your vehicle versus some of those strobes or hideaways in the taillights. They would go right here in the reverse light, and they're actually not any brighter than the reverse light is as far as light output to the rear, which is why we always say just get a taillight flasher. They're cheaper. You don't poke any holes in your taillights. So that's just what I wanted to show you. I couldn't really do it over the phone. It's harder to explain it than it is to just be able to show you. So let me know if you got any questions.